Welcome to Discovering. I sat down with a UP trapper who recently returned from a 15-day adventure in Alaska, trapping with Heimo and Edna of the Last Alaskans.
So many people have asked me, how did you get this opportunity? And I just feel sometimes just things work out the way they're supposed to work out because I don't know either. You know, Heimo, I asked them, he said, you know, we meet so many people and we don't remember a lot of people, but we remembered you.
So sit back and relax. It's Monday night and it's time for Upper Michigan's very own Discovering.
The secret streams that flow beneath the cliffs of colored stone. Forest thick and healthy with birch and pine and oak. Surrounded by the greatest lakes this world has ever known. The black bear's awesome presence as he roams the hills and fields. Call of the timber wolf, the loon's lonesome trill. The eagle soaring high above, the trout lies deep and still. These are what I treasure, the only way I measure feelings that I have for this fine land. There is so much to discover when you're a long-time lover of northern Michigan.
It's a typical UP January day, and Escanaba native Mary Theoret is checking her bobcat trap line with her husband Dave.
The female I cut last year was 34.4 pounds, which is a big female. I thought it was a male, and now I cut it right here.
It's a balmy 17 degrees Fahrenheit today, over 60 degrees warmer than the temperatures Mary was trapping in a month ago.
The coldest day we had was 44 below. And you do not stay inside because it's 44 below.
17 degrees in the UP means you don't need an excessive amount of layers while out in the woods, especially with a heated truck nearby.
We were 300 miles from the nearest road, 180 miles above the Arctic Circle. We had up to 6 hours that we were outside during the day, and you had to dress for the weather.
With plenty of animals to trap in the UP, what was Mary doing all the way up in the Arctic Circle?
So I started trapping 4 years ago and got involved with the Trappers Association, which is where I met Heimo and Edna from the Last Alaskans when they came up for the national convention. And what happened with them when I met them, I can't really explain it, but they felt like they were just like family when I met them. And Heimo pulled me aside because Edna was going to be doing a demo for our convention. And he said, Edna's being filmed on TV all the time, but it's just her and the cameraman. And so she wasn't used to speaking in front of a crowd. And he asked me if I would help her with her demo. And I had like 5 minutes. And I said, of course I will. And I sent them a thank you card and a Christmas card that year with my phone number in it. And I probably might have put something like, it's my lifelong dream to go to Alaska and trap. Because April 28th of last year, I got a phone call. And the phone rang and I'm looking at my phone and deciding if I want to answer it. And it said Fort Yukon, Alaska. And it just intrigued me, so I did answer it. And he said, is this Mary? And I said, yes. And he said, I don't know if you remember me, but this is Heimo. And I'm like, well, of course I remember you. You don't know too many Heimos. And we chatted for a little bit. They had just gotten back from their cabin from the winter. And he asked me if I would be interested in coming out trapping with Edna. And Edna was excited because she's never had a female go out there and trap with her. So anyway, so they were going to the convention in South Dakota last summer, and I actually met them there and spent the week with them, and we planned my trip out to Alaska.
For those unfamiliar, Heimo and Edna Korth are two of the main characters of the Discovery Channel reality program, The Last Alaskans, that aired from 2015 to 2019. The series followed several families and trappers as they survived each winter season off-grid in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge.
Some people say that these reality shows are not real, but I can tell you that Heimo and Edna are real. That is how they live their life, and that is what I experienced for 15 days.
Mary flew from the UP to Anchorage, Alaska on November 18th. From there, she traveled to Fairbanks, where she caught a Cessna 185 airplane to Heimo and Edna's cabin up in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge.
The Colleen River is the river that is out there, and we were able to land the plane on the river when I came out there. But what was kind of scary to me was flying around to see where we were going to land. And there was open water on the river. I mean, like a stream of open water on the river. The runway was marked by spruce trees next to the open water.
A trapping friend from Alaska joined Mary on her trip. He stayed in the tent used by the film crew. Mary stayed in their cabin.
And they've had people that have gone out there trapping, like men that have stayed in, they have an outfitter's tent out there that the movie crew had used. But nobody had ever stayed in their cabin except for family before. So I had a cot in the cabin by their bed. And then I had my stuff underneath the cot.
Mary got a first-hand experience of what daily life is like for Heimo and Edna.
It's a hard life. It's something where you don't get to take a day off. You're splitting wood. You're always doing something when you're out there. Getting water was something that was interesting too. You drink out of the creek or the river when you're in Alaska, and first I thought, am I going to need like a purifier or a filter or anything? And that was the best water I've ever had. But you had to walk to the creek, which was quite a ways, and go down a steep incline. Then you had to go down and chop a hole in the ice. And then you had to haul the water back in 5-gallon buckets with covers. And Heimo would just take the water and put it on his shoulder, and Edna and I would lug the buckets, and she said, just go real slow because he'll come back and get our buckets, which he did. So we just went really slow and took breaks on hauling this water back from the cabin. Some of the things that we ate out there, we had caribou tacos the first night because we brought some we brought some perishables, we brought some tomatoes and lettuce and things with us. And those were the best tacos I have ever had. The caribou meat is absolutely delicious. Heimo, they would figure out what we were going to have that morning because you had to chop it off or saw it off, the animal that was hanging outside. They're limited in what they can cook because there's no oven. So it's like a Dutch oven on top of the stove. In the evenings, would make snares. Edna does a lot of sewing, does a lot of cooking, and they had told me that they go to bed at 8:30 and they sleep until 6:30, and I'm going through my head, okay, that's 10 hours. I don't know anybody who sleeps for 10 hours, but you're so tired that you sleep for 10 hours. We would spend time in the evening with supper after coming in. We'd visit, and then they had a radio with batteries that got one station, and it was a gospel station. So I'd hear that song, "Give Me That Old Time Religion." And they actually have, it's called Trapper's Chatter, where people can call and leave you a message when you're out there. And I did have some friends that were able to leave me a message, but I never heard it because we didn't have the radio on at that time. They don't have electricity, so we wore headlamps inside the cabin as well. They have battery-operated Christmas lights they found is their best bet for lighting in the cabin, and they do have like a battery-operated lantern if they need it, but they're real, you use things sparingly out there. They go out in August, and they come back like the end of April. So they go to Fairbanks for the summer. They actually work to get the money to go back out and live the way they're living. They don't make a lot of money off of their trap. They make enough to live the way that they do. So they choose to live out there. They're called the Last Alaskans because they're on the Arctic National Refuge. And nobody will be allowed to live out there when their families quit living the way they do.
Mary was there to learn and experience their winter trapping lifestyle.
I have a marten that he's sending me, but marten, and they do have some marten in the UP, but they're a lot bigger in Alaska than they are here, these marten. They've got really nice fur. So they trap a lot of marten. They're also allowed to trap wolves. We didn't catch any when we were out there. They follow the caribou. So if the caribou go through early, the wolves follow the caribou. Sometimes you get a couple, we did see some wolf tracks and then they set on those. The best moment I think I had was the wolverine catch, because that was exciting to me because we don't have wolverine around here. And those I would describe like a mini grizzly bear. they're kind of funny. They're real vicious, and they'll just really tear up a circle. And the thing is, they usually don't catch a lot of wolverine until like January. I'd say that was probably my most exciting moment. And we aren't allowed to use snares up here for trapping either, but we were able to snare. We snared rabbits, they snare fox, they snare wolves, and we did catch, they call them bunnies, and they were really cute and white, and we did eat them. So I set my first snare, snared a bunny, and ate it, and it was delicious. Another thing that we caught was we did some underwater trapping under the ice for beaver. That is something that they typically do in the spring. I think they wanted me to experience everything I could when I was out there. So we kind of took turns going out on the snowmobile route and going out on Edna's route with her. She has about 4 miles around the cabin. When they first get out there for the year, she has a lot more opportunity to catch things. Once Heimo starts setting his traps further than the 4 miles around the cabin, then a lot of times things are caught before they get to the cabin. And she's always looking for signs. I learned a lot from Edna just, setting on sign. You set your traps where you have a sign of an animal. And again, she literally, every step she took, she is watching and looking. And when we set snares, we'd have to find a trail where the animal went on. And, so looking for that, looking for those tracks. She knew what every track was, where it was going. And some of these animals, they wouldn't follow the same path, so then it was harder to put a snare out. She had a real tricky fox we were trying to catch when I was out there, a sly fox. And it would never use the same trail. So and I said, we're going to catch that fox before I leave. And we did not. But guess what? I think it was the day after she caught that fox. And so, yes, I did learn just paying attention. So that will help me, with my trapping. Another thing that's really different with their trapping is they don't have to use bait and lure like we do. They do use some bait. Edna puts a trap on a log, and just a trap, and it's showing where here we cover them up, and they hang a wing at the end of that log. The marten go up the log and get caught in the trap, and the trap is showing. So they walk right into the trap, which is kind of unheard of for me here. But they said there's such a lack of food for the animals there that they see that wing hanging, and they're going to come and scout it out.
Mary brought home souvenirs from her trip.
Some of my skulls from Alaska I just processed. So this was a beaver that I got, and this is the Wolverine skull. So, and like I said, they were kind of like a mini grizzly bear. I went out on Heimo's snow machine route with him into the mountains and onto the river. And it was anywhere between like 8 and 10 miles depending on how much trail you broke. And it was just really something to experience. He will probably be watching this and he will probably laugh hearing me explain it. But the first time I got on the snow machine, and on the snow machine, sometimes I could ride on the snow machine with him for his route, and he told me, okay, you've got to hang on to me. And the first time that he took off, I wasn't really hanging on to him. I flew back into the cargo basket behind this, in the snowmobile, and I'm laying there in my 4 layers, and I'm laughing because I can't move, because I was like that kid on Christmas Story. I was so bundled up I couldn't move. And so he actually kind of picked me up, and I got back on the snow machine again, and you didn't have to tell me twice to hang on. And there wasn't a lot of snow when I was out there, so sometimes I'd have to ride behind on this sled. And the sled was a plastic green sled that was really slippery. And it had all the trapping gear in it, and anything that you caught was in it. There was survival gear in it, and there was a rope behind in the back of the sled. So I'd have to hang on to this rope, and I was on my knees and bouncing around and sliding around on this sled. Their snow is not like our snow. Their snow is, if I could compare it to anything, it would probably be like sugar. There's no humidity. We would break the trail for trapping, and the snow would be really soft, but then the next day it would be hard. So the trail wouldn't be hard till the next day. So you could only get so far up the mountain. I had these big boots along. She says, I'm going to have you wear these. Okay? Now, if you look at these, and I was thinking, how am I going to wear these in 28 below? I mean, and they know what they're talking about. So you can't get these wet. Okay, so I was thinking, how is that going to work? Well, there is no humidity in their snow. So on the days that we did the mountain trail, we would I'd put a liner in these, my liner out of my big boots, and wear these. And do you know that my feet never got cold in these? I was out for 6 hours one day with these on. And they said that it's moose skin and it breathes. So I am a firm believer in products, like leather and fur is just really an efficient way to dress out there. I really believe that I have a lot more survival skills now after spending time with them, being aware, and I think I could survive if I had to. I learned a lot from both Heimo and Edna.
Since leaving Alaska, Mary has stayed in touch with Heimo and Edna.
And the last time I talked to Heimo was they did catch a wolf, and it's funny because he'll say, "Remember that set that we did, over here or over there?" And Edna will say, "Remember that pole set that we, that was set up?" And so I know what they're talking about and where they caught these animals. One thing that we did out there too is we were on the river one day, and I said, we should make snow angels. And Heimo said, I haven't done that in 50 years. And we got down and we made snow angels. So I have a picture of that too. I just feel blessed to have that adventure with them because I've never done anything that was so exciting before, with people that I just really admire. And I probably could spend a winter out there. It was, I think I would learn something every day.
There were no bobcats on Mary's trap line that day.
You know, you never know, if they're going to get intrigued to go into a set or not. But we're going to try something different. We're going to change it up a little bit.
But I do have faith that the next time I talk to her, she will have caught one. Watch my full conversation with Mary on my YouTube channel at Discover the UP. That's all for tonight, and I hope to see you right back here next week for Upper Michigan's very own Discovering.